to the zoo.
Yep.
And I think one of the things I wrote down was the sheer volume of ice cream that Dudley consumes on their trip. Like,
Does he?
You have two paragraphs that are back to back where it says the Dursleys bought Dudley and Piers large chocolate ice creams at the entrance.
You're right, yep.
And then literally the next paragraph it says Dudley had a tantrum because his Knickerbocker Glory didn't have enough ice cream on top. Uncle Vernon bought him another one. it's like in two paragraphs he's had 3 different servings of ice cream.
I know. Okay, I also looked up a Knickerbocker Glory. Did you look up what it is?
I absolutely did.
Yeah, absolutely did.
Yeah.
It's huge. It is a big British sundae.
It is. Yes. So, but this is one of those.
So like, your ice cream did not have enough ice cream on it, or something. That was weird. It's a weird sentence. Minus in the paragraph, but it's still weird.
I think like so often it's very interesting because we've asked the question a million times, but like, is it British or wizarding? And this is like one of those things where like on my first pass of the story, Knickerbocker Glory would mean literally nothing to me at all.
Oh, I know.
I would have no idea what that was.
Yeah.
But I mean, you of course have
much ice cream.
the context, like one like word later that's like it didn't have enough ice cream on top. So it's like, okay, clearly it's a dessert of some kind.
It didn't have enough. That's funny too, because all the pictures I looked like it was nothing but just a giant glass thing full of ice cream. So it's like apparently this one didn't have enough. So get another one.
Right. It's like my giant flute of ice cream didn't have enough ice cream in it, so we got another one full of ice cream.
Well, yeah, like okay. I guess Harry really lucks out though, because he gets a lemon pop and at least what remained of the first Knickerbocker Glory. So great day for Harry all around.
Yep.
At least there. But then we move to the reptile house, where I think it's very on purpose that like the snake is just sitting there. It can't move. It's trapped in the stage, and like Uncle Vernon's rapping on it, and it's just people bothering him. It's like the exact same as Aunt Petunia bothering him under the stairs.
Oh, it's the exact same. I think the chapter literally begins with Aunt Petunia like banging on. Oh gosh. She's like, she's just banging on the door.
Yeah.
As he's trying to get up. Anyway,
it's just like, there's a very obvious, definite, intended parallel between Harry and the snake.
Yes.
And it's like, it's not just that he can talk to him, it's that he like relates to the snake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Which even that is sort of interesting in a lot of ways, because like his... snakes in the story feel like they live on the other side of the diagram, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like more commonly associated with Slytherin, which is more commonly associated with like negativity or dark magic or evil. But in this particular case, it's like Harry is using an ability that he has baked into himself thanks to the piece of Voldemort that lives inside of himself.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the only reason that he's able to communicate with snakes in the first place. But in this capacity, it's like he's like seeing more of in what I would say is more of Harry's own true self, not the part of Voldemort. Inside.
You're
of
right.
him.
It is interesting because the snakes that Harry interacts with the most via his ability to speak to snakes are the basilisk and Nagini, which are like magical snakes, and you can easily forget that like, oh, maybe it's like it can feel like Harry can just talk to like magical snakes, or that snakes are inherently magical or something, but it's like Harry can talk to any snake, and any snake would. This is what I noticed this time, reading through it on the hardback, is that Harry's just staring at it, and the snake suddenly opened its eyes slowly, very slowly. It raised its head until its eyes were on level with Harry. It winked, which is like, at this point, Harry has said nothing to the snake at all. He's just looking at it. So there's like an aura almost being given off by Harry. The snake can immediately tell this person can talk to me.
Yes.
It's like, it suggests that like all snakes, even a snake bred in captivity, is aware of magic or something. Which is weird.
It is. It's pretty fascinating. It really is. And I think to borrow a line from Name of the Wind, I think that
The snake is saying, I know you should talk to me. So, hello. Which is funny, but also cool in its own right.
like being truly alone, like even being in a room with like an unconscious person or something is different from being truly alone. And I feel like this is like, or maybe even like that sensation you might get like where that somebody is watching you.
Right.
It's almost like it feels like the snake has like encountered like this sensation of some kind. It's like, wait a second.
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, someone near me can communicate with me. It's like someone like-minded or something. I don't even know. But you're right. That is a very interesting one. And I caught that as well as I was like, it's so fascinating that like it actually seems to be of its own accord, just simply kind of like reacting to Harry's own presence. So.
Right, like Harry just being there alerts the snake. That's really interesting. And surprising snakes haven't like sought him out in any capacity before now, almost.
And again, you can go back to the little thing about the spiders there. Like this, like you're getting a lot of backstory about like little weird, like unusual happenings that Harry has gone through throughout some of his life. And these are things that we know again from like further reading in the Wizarding world that like as young wizards are growing up, they are basically able to like their emotions effectively can create magical effects because they are like sort of inadvertently like directing their magic at something. And so we get a bunch of those examples like where he gets like stuck on top of the chimney.
Where he apparates.
Yeah, he essentially has to apparate.
I know, I love that. I'm like, oh, Harry just low-key apparates right here. He's just like up on top of the school and he's like, the wind must have caught me. And it's like, come on.
Don't worry. Apparating is a word that will come up in book 6, so we don't need to worry about that at the moment. But just to give you guys a heads up, it just came up again, but it comes up again in my book 6. So, keep that in mind, I guess.
I literally wrote, okay, I highlighted, Harry supposed that the wind must have caught him in mid-jump, and I wrote, LOL, no. Apparate?
Sorry.
Question mark? I know. But yeah, but anyway, I feel like you're right. Like, it would have made sense instead of having like the spider situation, like to have like regaled us with stories of like, you know, at one point in time, Harry was punished because a group of snakes scared off a bunch of kids at the playground. Like, it would have seemed like such an obvious like thing, but maybe it would have been too on the nose,
too obvious,
like with what's to come anyway. But it wouldn't even surprise me if, like, without it ever being mentioned, without us even knowing if it's canon, in my mind, it's like that probably happened.
Yeah, you know what? Like, the snake, they were out there. They were finding him. They could tell.
If anything, I would count that as a more likely reason that Harry otherwise seemingly had no friends whatsoever at school, because it says, like, nobody would be friends with Harry because, like, nobody wanted to go against Dudley. And it's like, I'm sorry, but, like, kids do not have that kind of beholdens to the class bully.
Oh, yeah. Like there's
like,
no chance.
Yeah, someone was kind enough to be Harry's friend.
Yeah.
You know, but like, you know, I mean, if he's summoning snakes everywhere.
Yeah, it's not Dudley, Harry. It's the snakes, bro.
It's like, you gotta chill with the
snakes. But I guess Harry never realized the snakes were there or something. I don't know.
Maybe not. The other thing about the snake that we can bring up, because I know this is like one of those very common fan theories that I think was like a meme somewhere along the way that called it a huge head of steam, is basically just that the boa constrictor that Harry talks to at the zoo in during this particular scene eventually goes on to become the snake Nagini. This is just something that we know for a variety of reasons to just be inaccurate. I don't think that Nagini is a breed of snake that can be named. It's just sort of like a magical snake, which we of course know comes from Nagini being a malediction. Which is basically a human who has a curse or blood curse, right?
Blood curse, yeah.
That slowly transforms them from human to creature. We never get the full story as to why Nagini eventually goes on to support Voldemort in the future, but we know that at one point in time Nagini was in fact a human person, and this snake was born in
captivity. It's also heading to Brazil, so
yes.
Yeah. So unless it takes a
that fact about Nagini from like Fantastic Beasts, the movie. So I guess what's that is want to know more about that fact, but regardless, that is Griffin. Yeah.
Hard left into Albania to find Voldemort, which obviously it doesn't. Also, I want to say this. Does it say the snake is male at any point? I don't know if it does.
Yeah, I don't know that it does
I don't know
either.
that it does. Yeah, doesn't matter. Okay, it's not that snake. So if you've been under the illusion that this snake that Harry sets free goes on to be Nagini, it is not. So that's sort of what happens at the zoo. Oh, he makes the glass disappear, which is really funny. I think it's like all these crazy things keep happening. They can't find where the glass broke. Oh my gosh, what happened? So Harry does a little bit of magic, but then the last page of the chapter here has him talking about how whenever they're out, like strange strangers seem to recognize him, like people in violet top hats and in emerald robes and purple. Like I noticed in the first couple of chapters, whatever.
I need you guys to watch that. So like relax, I'm spilling these rats as long as you feel them.
Like the Dursleys or Harry see witches and wizards on the street in the wild, they're almost always wearing purple or green, which is just like random. I don't know if those just seem like the most non-Muggle colors or something.
That is very interesting. I mean, this is like one of those things where very, very, very little to go off of. But the bald man in a very long purple coat does seem to fit Kingsley Shacklebolt. At least on the basis of how he's dressed, which is, it just kind of makes me happy to think that like Kingsley may have like also been like watching out for him, because Kingsley's always had that like that air of like goodness, confidence, like
Kingsley more in on Phoenix than book one, but this is book 5, like on finishes book 5. But yeah, if he was there in book 1, I guess you don't really find out that it was him until book 5, I guess.
Is very capable. So it's like just the idea on some level that like Kingsley would ever be like watching like over Harry from afar and even like take a moment to go over and like shake his hand and just like,
Yo, what's up?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because he walks away without a word, and even that seems like very, very Kingsley.
It does.
Just like walk up, like shake your hand.
I know. It also talks about how every time he meets someone, they seem to vanish, which is also interesting. Like everyone who meets Harry is like, "All right, time to go."
Oh
Just
yeah,
gotta
right.
pop, and it's like the early on apparition seems like it was like a lot quieter. Like it's always described with like a pop or a snap later on. And it's like early, but whenever like when Dumbledore arrives, he just sort of appeared out of nowhere. There's never like a pop or a snap. Or all these people are like apparently meeting him and then exiting without like the loud crack sound. It's just like and we're gone.
This is one of those things that I would say that like I can never really get a firm grasp on like throughout the story. Like when it says like there's a crack associated with it, I can never really figure out like because I feel like sometimes it's like a car backfired, and it's like if it's cracking like a car backfires every single time, it's like that is a very, very, very noticeable noise.
Yeah, like you're right. Sometimes it is almost like it's so loud. Like when Dobby does it outside of the window, it's like it's like a car backfiring. But then other times it seems it's more like just like a snap sound or something.
I wonder if it has to do at all like with the brand of magic that's being used, or like how capable the wizard in question is or something. We'll have to keep our eye to the ground to see if there's like any consistency whatsoever, because eventually we'll see in like Order of the Phoenix that like Fred and George are apparating like into the room, and surely that's the kind of thing that like if Molly was hearing them like crack from one level to another, she'd be like,
yeah, no good.
Yeah, she would say something about it.
Yeah, she would say something about it. But it does seem like they would be the kind of apparators who would like really try and have a loud crack.
Boom! It's like, I am here.
I think if I had to guess, this would be my reasoning, is that even though it accomplishes the same thing, house elves apparating versus wizards apparating is like actually subtly different magic, because like the house elves are able to apparate inside of Hogwarts even though wizards can't. So it must be a little bit like whatever blocks wizards from doing it doesn't block house elves. So it must be different. So I think is it described that maybe just the house elves are really loud, whereas the wizards are more of like a pop?
Maybe that could be the case. Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's also Malfoy Manor. We'll eventually know that other adult wizards are incapable of operating in or out of the basement, but Dobby is able to get in there as well.
Like, so whatever, don't care. I used to live here.
You could. I wonder. I mean, speaking to like the subtlety of the magic. I mean, again, I think it's probably different brands altogether, but Dobby is using like wandless magic.
House elves magic is just more raw or like less controlled than wizards. But I don't really know. Maybe we'll follow that support. Probably not anytime soon. Let's follow it at some point. Yes.
Together, which I suppose there's some possible argument to be made, like that a wand helps you direct your energy more specifically, or like maybe it's like a more refined version of the spell.
Yeah.
And so maybe like it's more raw. When Dobby's doing it, but like we also know eventually that house elves are incredibly powerful of their own accord. So that would certainly track. But anyway, So I mean, I think chapter 2 is sort of interesting. I mean, on the whole, I would say my key takeaways from it was largely to give you. While I always recollect in the first book that Harry's time spent with the Dursleys is a long time, it feels like this chapter is really covering a lot of the bases to kind of give you the idea of what his treatment was like while he's there. You know, like the fact that he lives in the cupboard, the fact that it's even common for them to like lock him in the cupboard for stretches of time.
I think at one point it says a week, and I want to say in the next chapter there's one where it's like a month or something.
Right. And this is like one of those things where it's like, I don't like when you say trapped in there for a week, I mean, like, does that mean that the door is locked and you can't exit? Or is that being like grounded in your room and it's like, okay, you need to go and spend, like when you're at home, you're in your room.
Okay. Yeah. Not to get too far ahead, just as the first page of the next chapter, it says this is for the Vanishing Glass situation. It says, by the time he was allowed out of his cupboard again, the summer holidays had started, for reference, again, Dudley's birthday is June 23rd, right? And I was looking up when do summer holidays start and school end in like UK, and it's mid-July, which also tracks for like how close the next chapter is to like Harry's birthday, which is at the end of July.
July 31st.
July 31st. So it's like if he was in there from June 23rd till mid-July, that is absolute crazy levels of abuse.
Oh, yes.
Like just nonsense. Like that is horrible. Like Harry should be so much more messed up.
Oh yes. No, I mean the fact that he comes out the other side, like I mean, I don't know. It's just, I mean, he's been through a lot.
It is
not a good life.
It also means like in some capacity he was just kept out of school for like almost a month, basically. Like it seems like the Dursleys should have been called out on that. It makes like maybe he was at least going to school, and it was like as soon as he got home, he's in the. That's not. There's no at least there. I'm sorry. it's just all bad. It's not. None of it's okay. It's so bad.
I know. It's like you want it to just be like hyperbole or something. You want it to just be like.
But it's like you want it to be, but like that's what it says.
I know on the page. I know it's like, well, that's not great. So anyway. So difficult life.
Difficult life for Harry coming up on his 11th birthday here. Ben, what did you think of the chapter art for the Vanishing Glass?
Goodness gracious. I mean, it infuriates me to look at it a little bit. I mean, he just like Dudley just does have that look in the chapter art here. So if you can imagine, you got little dudders.
You're smart, like you're such a spoiled. He just takes that spoiled child look on his face, and then of course you have that pile of presents behind him. So for holy crap, how do we all look at this a modern after So the faster we get past it, the better, I guess.
They're surrounded by Apollo presents, but really it's not the presents or anything else. That it's just the expression on his face, which just is such an air of superiority.
It is. It's like I deserve all these things.
Like even as they're describing what his particular like batch of gifts happens to be, like there's the inclusion of like a racing bike,
yes,
and like a second television, and it's funny because it's like I'm sort of just like imagining the most like comical, like from How the Grinch Stole Christmas pile of gifts you could ever imagine, and it almost seems like that's almost exactly what it is. It's like some of these things are just useless to him. It's an impressive looking pile of gifts.
Yeah.
So it's like, is he going to use a racing bike? It's like probably not, but like it makes the presentation of the gifts seem that much more extravagant. But the other funny thing about it too, as well, is we get a further breakdown of what the rest of his gifts happen to be, and I always think it's funny because it's like as they're given the rundown, it's sort of like let's see here, the racing bike, the video camera, remote control airplane, and then it goes. So it's like really specific stuff, and then it's 16 new computer games and a VCR.
Yeah.
it's like okay, we can't give a list of everything, so a bunch of games.
Yeah, a bunch of games. I want to say, is this the chapter that mentions a PlayStation?
I don't think this is the one that mentions the PlayStation. I think it's a reminiscence at some point in time, but it is an anachronism. I know in the story where the PlayStation had not been. Whenever it's referenced, the PlayStation had not actually been released attached to this time frame yet, which this is something we haven't really talked about before. And I will say, when I was reading the stories for the first time, kept baffling me a little bit was I think, what would it be, in 1997 when the first book was released?
Yeah.
I think in my mind, it sometimes blew my mind because I was close-ish in age to Harry as I was reading each of the installments.
Yeah.
Like sort of like, so we were kind of progressing it. Like
It's just happening in the past.
It's happening in the past. So I think one of the things that did throw me, very rarely and occasionally did this ever actually have like plot relevance, but the fact that you get to the end of Harry's saga and it's only like 1998.
Yeah.
I think by the end of the story. Similarly, because like I think my science fair project, for example, when I was in 7th grade, I made the Mailbox 2000, which was a mailbox that had like a sliding drawer so that you could like reach the mailbox from your car easier.